Make it manifest, bro. Ain't nobody gonna do it better than you.
Man, look at me, man. Look at me, man. Before.
Yes, sir. Yo, got my boy right. Let's go. I'm in the league.
Man, look at me, man. Look at me, man. Welcome back to the Voices of Change podcast. And this is episode 2 of season 6. We're coming off of episode 1 where we touched on this is men's mental health month. And we got a lot of feedback, good feedback from the show. A lot of men reached out, women reached out. It was just a good episode, and I'm thankful to be back on the air. Like you said, we was gonna have some good guests on this month. So, without that being further ado, want to introduce the first guest of the season, and that's my cousin Brandon Perry. Mr. Brandon Perry is a licensed professional counselor, speaker, husband, and father dedicated to helping individuals and families build healthier relationships, strengthen emotional wellness, and navigate life's challenges with resilience and purpose. A native of Alexandria, Louisiana, Brandon currently resides in Baton Rouge with his wife and his 4 children and their 2 dogs. Welcome to the show, Brandon Perry.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me, cuz.
No problem. What made you choose to be a counselor?
Oh, man. Honestly, a lot of different trials, especially during my undergraduate year, man. When I originally got to ULM, my original major was radiologic technology. But me and biology, we wasn't really seeing eye to eye.
Yeah.
And so from there, I changed my major to criminal justice, and that was fully online, and I wasn't too focused. And honestly, the way I see it now, looking forward and looking where I'm at now, I went and changed to psychology, and it was all God just really having His hands in the cards. So
Yes, sir. Okay. When a person hears therapist or counselor, what comes to mind for you?
um, somebody just to kind of a trusted support, a trusted individual, a professional to kind of help people just kind of navigate through different experiences that they encounter in their day-to-day lives, whether it's anxiety, depression, trauma, anger, self-doubt, the list in itself can, go on and on.
Yeah.
So just being a navigator is the way that I kind of tend to describe it to a lot of the clients that I tend to work with.
Right. And how long you been practicing counseling?
2 years, man. 2 years now.
2 years. Okay. And so you're in the Baton Rouge area. Tell the folks how they can reach you, or if they need this type of service.
Oh man, I'm on Psychology Today. You can find me on Psychology Today, as well as Ruler. I do offer virtual services at my full-time job. I work for Open Healthcare Clinic in Denham Springs. So you can either get in touch with me either via virtual appointments, or if you're in the area and you want some in-person appointments, you can definitely find me there as well.
Okay. What would you say has been one of your greatest challenges as a therapist or counselor?
Oh man, I think my greatest challenge has really been just kind of taking the therapy hat off, man. When I get off and get home, because sometimes I can still be in that mode from the day, and just being able to transition from job to walking to the house to be a husband, a father, all those other needs outside of my need of being a therapist.
Yeah, that's a great breakdown. Great breakdown. Um, how do you see the world differently as a husband or a father with as a counselor or a therapist?
Um, Ultimately, man, the way that I see the world, I look at them now as opportunities and experiences. Everything is a learning process. You never know what you can achieve without actually going through it. Because a lot of times, what happens is this is people in general. We'll normally talk ourselves out of something or create a outcome to something without actually giving ourselves the opportunity to experience it.
Right. It's a great breakdown. Okay. What would you say have been one of your greatest rewards as a therapist?
I think one of my greatest rewards as a therapist, man, is just seeing the growth of individuals that I work with, families, and just sometimes just getting that feedback of thank you. I at first didn't even think I would be able to be where I'm at prior to me starting this process of therapy. So just seeing people change through the process, letting their guard down, buying in to the
Yeah.
whole process of therapy because it's a buy-in process. And I
Right.
tell my people and even my families, you can't expect any change if you're not willing to put forth any type of effort. And
Right.
that effort is going to usually be differently than what you're used to putting into. So it's going to require a different amount of effort each day.
Right. When you say buy in, that tells the individual this is something that they must want and not something they're forced to do. They have to want it.
Correct, correct. You got to be willing. That's one of the first things that I genuinely talk about initially in my sessions before even getting into, deep dive or just generally what brings you in for therapy. If you're
Right.
not willing, you're going to really be wasting your time, and
Right.
I tell my people all the time, I don't believe in wasting your time or my time, so you
Right.
have to have that will. You have to have that willpower.
Right. Okay. So, do you deal more with women or men for as your counseling sessions?
Um, Honestly, man, it's been more women, but I've been seeing as of lately an increase in men, which I'm happy to see,
Yeah.
because we as men are generally taught, to be providers, protectors, and problem solvers. And the challenge is that many men, we learn is how to take care of everybody except ourselves.
Wow.
So just to be able to see the increase of men actually coming to therapy, is a major thing. Nothing against my women, but the reality of it is men are significantly less likely to seek therapy as opposed to women.
Right. And you think some of that is because a lot of men are macho or like they don't really want help or they feel like I said shared in the first episode, it might be seen as weakness or something like that.
Oh
If
yeah,
they seek help.
most definitely. I think a lot of it also just deals with, how they was raised because, like I said, as men, we're taught to be providers, protectors, and problem solvers. And in thinking about that, who has time to cry? Who has time to sit down and talk about their emotions?
Right.
And my whole thing is wanting to create a space for men to be able to have that opportunity to discuss those things.
Right.
Because outside of the work that you're doing, once you come home, who's to say you're not carrying stuff with you from the outside world into your home?
Right.
And if you don't know how to navigate through that, a lot of that tends to show up as irritability, anger, frustration. And the reality of it is that that isn't something that you have to go through alone.
Right. If I'm a man and I'm struggling with that, what would be my first avenue? What would you tell me to do first?
I think honestly would be first identifying what the areas of concerns that concern you.
Yeah.
So in
Hmm.
addition, it's no different than building a house.
Right.
No, you got to first start with what? The idea, the blueprint. And then once you
Hmm.
have the blueprint, you can then lay the foundation down and you can start putting the pieces together to the structure of the house.
Right.
And then after you have the structure, you can then start putting the walls, the roof. And then after that, you can begin to paint. You can
Mm.
design it how you want it to be. And
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, I think a lot of times, just with dealing with people dealing with a lot of mental health issues, that's in itself like they tend to formulate a mental health condition to be their identity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not an identity. It's
Right.
just something that it's the way I look at mental health diagnoses, it's considered to be a label. So it's something that you have to be educated on. It's something that
Right.
you want to be able to understand. It's no different than you going to the gas station, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you go in the gas station, what's something you usually going there to buy?
Probably a cold drink or something.
What kind of cold drink?
A Coke.
Coca Cola?
Yeah.
Now, no, you're not gonna get a Diet Coke.
Nah.
Why not?
I want the real deal. I want the authentic
So,
experience.
so the reason you're gonna get that Coca Cola is based off of that label, and if you get anything different outside of the label, you're gonna be
Yeah.
like, this ain't right.
Right.
So you were able to identify that based off of that label, based off of that brand of that Coca Cola, you now have an understanding that I like this. This
Mm-hmm.
is something that I'm going to go into this store and purchase.
Right.
So when you apply that same understanding to mental health, okay, I didn't know that I was battling with depression, right? But
Mm-hmm.
now I can put a label to it. I can put a name to it. I can start identifying it.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm identifying certain things that I'm dealing with. So now I'm able to better navigate through them,
Right.
through the self-awareness. Because if not, I'm just out here I'm spilling over on everybody. I'm
Right.
bleeding out because I'm not taking the time to heal my wounds. And usually pain is temporary. Generally what happens when we don't take the necessary tools or the necessary steps to even work towards any self-improvement, that breeds what you call long suffering.
Wow.
And we're not meant to suffer. And oftentimes we feel like it's okay to suffer in silence. And we feel like that's true strength. Nah,
Right.
true strength comes through acknowledging, admitting, confronting, facing. And therapy in itself, man, it's not easy.
Right.
It's no different than anything in life. Everything in life comes with its own sets of challenges.
Right. That's a
Life can,
great breakdown.
mhm.
I was just gonna say, how long typically is a therapy session where a person comes to see you?
Typically it can last anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And you know how we see on TV, the therapist is at the desk, and the other person is sitting on the couch, laid back. Is that how it go?
Not necessarily. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do have a couch in my office, but I also do have a chair, and pretty much, my clients when they come into my office, they can kind of sit wherever they feel, But
Right.
a lot of times, they do like to sit on the couch.
Yeah. Want to
But
be comfortable.
yeah, most definitely, just creating a safe, comfortable space for them to feel comfortable in. And some may kick back and kick their feet up. Some may lay down, but yeah.
Right. So how does that feel as a black man helping other men or women kind of heal and find comfort within themselves? How does that feel from your perspective?
Oh man, it comes with a great reward in itself, and it feels good. Because honestly, usually when I have people sign up to come see me as a therapist, it's what I usually get is, I thought you were a white man, or I was expecting a woman, because the mental health, the social service, behavioral health field is predominantly women.
Right.
So it's not many times that you get the opportunity to sit across from not just a black male therapist, but just a male therapist in itself. But
Right.
yeah,
It's a great breakdown. So what is your goals long term for as your counseling agency?
well, my long term goal, man, is to eventually create a space, create my own business to be there for individuals, families, and even start my own men's group as well. And host another, other different events and services where I can not only be of service to people within the community, but also help build other therapists as well.
Right. I want to change lanes a little bit, give you a little background. This is my second cousin. This is our grandmothers were sisters, Pearl Ann and Clyde Smith, Clyde T. Um, like we was talking about earlier, man. I know they're proud of us. He's Aunt Ann's oldest grandson, and I'm Grandma Claudia's oldest grandson. And just kind of talk about family and the dynamic. Like when we saw each other at the family reunion, it was just good to see you. And just talk about that dynamic a little bit.
Man, family is definitely important. Family in itself can be some can be a good pillar, a good support for you, in
Right,
times of needs, and things of that nature. But yeah, you need that family support because one, well, in needing that family support, you want to ensure that you also communicate to your family on how you need them to support you, how you need them
right,
to show up, what it is that you need from them, because family in itself can always have a set agenda or an idea of what they think you need.
right.
And sometimes what they think you need isn't always what you need, but that's when
Actually,
you
need.
have to be able to communicate what it is that you need from family. So family is very important.
Right. Family is very important, and like one of the things you just said, communication is key. Whether we're on the workforce, whether we are talking just man to man, a lot of times text messages or whatever get construed, tone. But if we could simplify things, communication is key. And that's the foundation, like you was talking about. We can build on clear communication, then we can build that house.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I know you had some things that you want to discuss. You can go ahead and segue into those things.
Okay. Primarily just with it being, the month of June, men's mental health month. Why this matters, right?
Right,
Mental health affects every aspect of a man's life: his relationships, parenting, work performance, physical health, and overall quality of life. Yet, many men continue to suffer in silence because they fear being judged, appearing weak, or even becoming a burden to others. And, to my men out there, if that resonated with you in any way, I want you to know that all those aren't true.
right.
And a lot of times, what happens is the enemy tends to play tricks on our mind and
Hmm.
makes us believe things that aren't actually real. So I just want to kind of encourage y'all to really, dig deep and ask yourself, certain questions like, how are you sleeping? How are you coping with stress? Who have you had an honest conversation with this week? What are you carrying that you haven't been able to share? You know,
Hmm.
just to share some statistics with you. Men account for nearly 80% of suicide deaths in the United States.
Wow.
80% of suicide deaths in the United States. Men die by suicide at approximately 4 times the rate of women. Men are significantly less likely than women to seek mental health treatment. Nearly 1 in 10 men experiences depression, anxiety, yet Many never receive professional support. One thing I want my men and my women as well to understand is that seeking help is not a weakness.
Right.
That in itself is a true strength because you never know how to navigate certain things without even asking for help. And we all need help. We all need support
Right.
at some time in our life, you know.
Right.
Um, just to kind of talk a little bit about depression in men. It often looks different, right?
Mm-hmm.
When people think of depression, they often picture sadness and crying.
Right.
Those are some symptoms of depression, but that doesn't always equate to that is going to be what depression looks like for everybody. However, many men experience depression through irritability, anger, withdrawal, emotional numbness, overworking, increased substance use, or relationship difficulties.
Mhm.
Many men say, I'm not depressed, I'm just stressed, right?
Right.
When there may be much more happening beneath the surface. Anger in itself is probably the number one emotion that men are geared to show.
Right.
Anger in itself is a secondary emotion, but it shows up as a primary emotion. Because generally what happens is we apply different thoughts to situations, which in turn reflects how we feel. So don't be afraid to express your emotions. Don't be afraid to talk because one, you never know how much lighter you can be just by releasing and allowing yourself to one, be vulnerable.
Right.
And man, that's a big discussion when it
That's a
comes
big.
in, because one, we don't like to men in itself don't like to be vulnerable.
Right.
You know, I don't want to appear weak.
Mm-hmm.
Weakness in itself is you not taking the necessary steps to work on you. You know, I often ask people this question: why do we praise men for going to the gym to strengthen their bodies, but sometimes criticize them for strengthening their minds?
Wow.
True strength includes emotional awareness, asking for help when needed,
Mm-hmm.
setting healthy and appropriate boundaries, and addressing problems before they become a crisis. So it's steps that we have to take as men, as individuals, as women, and even as a community. Many adult men have very few close friendships.
Right.
Community in itself is very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have a sense of, everybody likes to have a sense of belonging.
Right.
And usually, if you feel like you don't belong to anything, that's when the negative self thoughts tend to come in, the negative self criticism of, well, I'm this, I'm not this,
Mm.
nobody loves me, nobody likes me, All of that in itself, you tell yourself that long enough, you begin to believe it.
Gonna believe it. Yeah. I touched on that in the first episode. I was talking about isolation could be one of our biggest enemies.
Oh man,
You don't want to be isolated. That's how men suffer in silence.
correct, correct. And isolation in itself is one of the number one coping skills that people tend to use. Thinking if, I create a distance between people or things that I don't want to deal with, I'll be okay.
Right.
And that plays into anxiety, right? Because all you do is you create a level of distance, right? It
Mm-hmm.
gives you a temporary relief. But when you got to come back out your room, when you got to get back out into the workforce, when you got to get back around this group of people, and you don't know how to navigate through them, the anxiety intensifies.
Right.
So know that it's your responsibility to seek help. Nobody can do it for you.
Right.
Nobody. You know, many men have people that they talk to, but very few people they can truly be honest with.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Loneliness has become a significant mental health concern for men across the country. Like that goes into that isolation. Like no difference than you checking on your friends. Usually when you check on a friend, it's like, but how you doing? Oh, I'm
Right.
good. And you kind of leave it at the
Leave
surface.
it at that. Yeah.
Usually, even with my clients, when they tell me I'm good, what's been good? Help me understand what good looks like for you.
Right.
Elaborate, be specific, because we can hide behind I'm good, I'm all right,
Mm-hmm.
I'm making it. You know,
Right.
I don't want you to just make it. I want you to be able to live a life of quality,
Mm.
not just a life of existing or surviving. So
Right.
be okay
We
with asking for help.
right. When you were speaking about that, I was thinking about you're in the Baton Rouge area, and I'm a LSU fan. I was thinking about Kyle Lacey, man. That tragedy, how felt like he didn't have anybody outlet or anything like that. And just was thinking about suicide comes into play. That's the ultimate, that affects a lot of people,
Most definitely.
and being in the profession as a fireman, I was touching base on that as well. Like the decision of one person cause a domino effect of getting law enforcement involved,
Hmm.
ambulance, fire. All of those things started with a decision that one person made, and
Yeah,
it's going to affect family. So the lie of man, it ain't going to affect nobody. It ain't going to hurt nobody. No, it's going to hurt a lot of people.
most definitely. A lot of time people tend to lean more towards suicide, and it's usually in response of not really knowing how to manage those overwhelming emotions.
Right.
Because what I've seen in working with people, not just men but everybody, right? They
Mm-hmm.
sometimes get in situations where they're so overwhelming to the point where they be like, you know what, my family would be better off without me. I'm not good enough. So that's when a lot of that self-defeating thoughts tend to come into play.
Right.
So for anybody out there, who has ever experienced suicide or things of that nature, 988 is always available 24 hours a day. That's the Louisiana Mental Health Crisis Line. Don't be
Say
afraid to
that again. Say that number again. 988.
988 988.
Yes, sir.
You have the options to text or talk to somebody over the phone. Um, yeah, man, suicide is also something that most people don't want to talk about.
Right.
And I tell my clients all the time, if you're ever having suicidal thoughts, that doesn't mean that immediately I'm gonna be like, oh, you need to go to the emergency room. Nah, there's certain risk assessments that I have to do to assess to see if emergency placement is hospitalization is appropriate,
Mm-hmm.
because we can have suicidal thoughts without having any intent or any plan. Because a lot of times we're so hard on ourselves,
Right.
especially as men.
Mm.
Men tend to feel as if people expect perfection.
Right.
But what if I told you perfection didn't exist? Because it
Mm.
doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Perfection is just the idea that you should have done something right.
Right.
Right and wrong is a matter of opinion, not facts.
Mm. Right.
So the reality of it is, man, just dealing with life in itself, you want to be able to have a balanced perspective on seeing things. People not gonna always agree with you, and you're not gonna always agree with people. But that doesn't mean you have to go full fledged on getting your point across.
Right.
Sometimes you want to learn to disagree to agree.
Right. I was bring up a point. I
Mm-hmm.
do a mentoring at the high school.
Yeah.
We do like 10 weeks, and it's called Teach One to Lead One. We teach things like self awareness, just different principles to help those kids deal with life.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I told them the acronym FAT. If somebody does something to you, you're gonna feel that, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna act, and then you're gonna think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But you really, in all actuality, you want to do FTA. You want to feel that, you want to think about it, then you want to act.
Yeah.
A lot of times we think about it after we locked up, after we done said something we weren't supposed to say. But
Yeah.
if we fit, we can't control if somebody does something to us. So
Correct.
that's the feeling of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can control whether I respond. Now, let me think about this first. Let me think what's the consequences of me doing like risk analysis.
Correct.
Let me feel it, let me think, and then let me act instead
Yeah.
of feeling, acting, and thinking.
The
And
biggest,
that'll help a lot. That'll help you a lot.
oh, big time. I agree with that because taking the time just to pause
Hmm.
will save you a lifetime of regret.
Right,
You know, especially with working with my younger kids, my adolescents as well. Like they tend to react and then think.
right.
And one of the things that I tend to work on is really notice when you think of a stop sign, right?
Hmm.
S stands for stop, T stands for think, O stands for observing the consequences, the good consequences and the bad consequence. P stands for proceed.
I like that.
Stop is necessary because a lot of times we may do things, say things, and after we've been and done them or said them, we want to be apologetic after the fact.
Right,
But if you'd have took that moment to be like, all right, I'm kind of upset right now. Let me take some time to kind of think about this real quick because one, is this based off of an emotion that I'm feeling, something that I experienced previously with previous experience? Is this tied to something else? Because a lot of times there are roots
right,
that are connected to how we react to things in life.
right.
Reactions take no time. Responses take time for you to think about and
Right.
plan, prep for.
That's a good point. I was thinking about us. We men, black men in America, and we deal with things that we have to deal with. But we are fathers,
Mm-hmm.
so we're raising young men. I just had a son that graduated. Shout out to Jalen Smith. You're going to college. You're going to do well. I try to instill, the principles that grandma and our aunts and uncles that they taught us. But just talk about some of the things, challenges might be raising young men.
Okay. To my fathers, don't try to save your kids from experiencing emotions. If anything, be that support. You know, check in on them. You know, what's causing you to feel how you're feeling? Is there anything that you need? And sometimes it may not be nothing that they need other than you just being present. Because sometimes we have men who will be like, "Oh, stop all that crying. You don't need to be crying. Boys don't cry. Boys do cry.
Right.
Men do cry.
Men cry. Yes.
We're not emotionalists. We're not monsters. So take the time to be there for your sons to help them understand what it is that they're feeling. And to my fathers out there, to my young kings, if you don't understand how you're feeling, hey, reach out to me. For my people back at home in Ellick, if you need to get in touch with me, reach out to my cousin Jamal. If there's anything that I can do to create a space, if I need to come home and do a group or something like that, I'm open to that. But most importantly, support your child the way that you wish you would have been supported growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's something to sit with.
Yeah, yeah, that's big right there. Support your child how you wish you were supported when you was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a guy. I think it was day before yesterday. I think it was Friday.
Yeah.
Over last week, and it was talking about how if there was one thing I could do with my grandmother, I would go back and just. A lot of times we used to cut our grandparents off. They telling you something, Grandma, I know that already. Grandma, me being a man now to this day, if that's one thing I can go back, I would just sit down and just listen and absorb everything she was trying to tell me. Because she always tell me, grandson, I'm not gonna tell you nothing wrong, nothing that's I like blatantly that I would know that's gonna hurt you, you
Right.
know. So to our young men out there that's growing up, or us as fathers, we're not trying to control your life or do anything like that, but we are trying to help guide you. We're there to navigate you. We're there to just an aid and a support, like my cousin was saying. But sometimes we do have to be strict or stern, because this world don't care about it. And not only does that, as a black man, it's a target on your back, so we're trying to help navigate, and sometimes that might seem like, man, he being too militant, being too stern, too strict. I don't see it that way. I see it as if sometimes God, as our father, he had to be strong, strict with us, you know what I mean? And we just have to take our medicine, and a lot of times that's what we have to do as men.
Right. Right. Most definitely. The biggest thing is understand that you will have people, not even just your fathers, not even just your brothers, but you'll have men that you'll meet along your way in life that will tell you about some of their experiences. And a lot of times they'll try to help you avoid certain situations based off of their own experiences. So, be open, be teachable, don't be hard headed.
Right. Well, once again, man, we thank for Brandon Perry for coming on. I think this has been very great. Men's mental health is talked about in June, but the months go on, days go on. We're just bringing awareness to it, and he has did some very great points, sharing and talking about that. Is there anything else? One thing you want to leave them with?
Yeah, man. Men's mental health is not about making men softer. It's about helping men stay alive, stay connected, and becoming healthier husbands, fathers, friends, leaders, and members of their communities. The strongest men I meet are not the ones who never struggle. They're the ones willing to talk about their struggles before those struggles become crisis. Men don't need permission to be perfect. Many men simply need permission to be human.
Yes. Need grace.
Yep. That's it.
That's it. Before we leave, also I started that segment of shouting out men that I feel like are killing it in life. I think I'm gonna do five, and if you want to shout out 3 to 5 men that you want to just bring shout out to, I'll let you go first.
Okay.
Anybody want to shout out to?
Yeah, man. Shout out to my boy Keldrick Bontemps, Bontemps Media.
Yeah.
Um, Shout out to my little brother Carlton Perry.
Yes, sir.
Um, my brother Javarius Jackson, Michael Thomas, Lincoln Powell, Gerard Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And, most importantly, man, shout out to my big dog KP Kenneth Perry.
Yes, sir. Pops.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Uh, I want to shout out to my dad. Fortunately, I'm able to have two dads. James Matoir, well, I got three. James Matoir, Robert Lemons, and Lorenzo O'Quinn. Thank y'all for being staplers in my life as men. I want to shout out to my pastor, Pastor Greg. He's always been a voice of comfort and peace in my life. Shout out to Robert Lemons, man, my little brother Pete. Got to see you 2 weeks ago. That really blessed me. Um, let's see, is there anybody else I want to think? Oh, cousin Shaquille, Yancey.
Yes, sir.
Um, all the men in the Smith mate family, we want to lift y'all up and shout y'all out, man, because those family reunions, those are big times where we can get together and reflect and just build upon each other. So take the time to thank y'all and tell y'all we love y'all.
Yeah.
Once again, this has been episode 2. Uh, Thank you again to my cousin Brandon Perry for coming on, just being willing, to reach out to the community and to men. We don't want y'all suffering in silence. Continue to like, support, and share. And thank you for tuning in.